Picture this. You're taking two different college math classes. In one class, the professor's exam grades are completely all over the place. Some students are scoring perfect hundreds, while others are barely scraping by. But in the second class, the grades are incredibly consistent, hovering right around an 85 every single time. So why does this happen? And more importantly, how can we mathematically prove that one professor's grading is objectively more consistent than the others?
Well, that exact difference in consistency is what we in statistics call variance. Variance is literally just a measure of how spread out a set of numbers is. And today, we're figuring out exactly how to test if two variances are statistically different from one another. Because honestly, we want to move beyond just looking at a list of grades and guessing. We want a rock-solid mathematical test to back us up. So here's what you're going to get out of this. By the end of this explainer, you will completely understand the F-test concept from the ground up, the exact formula behind it, and how to apply it using real-world examples. We're going to break down the math step by step so that you can confidently use this statistical tool yourself. Now let's connect this to real life because variance testing is absolutely everywhere. Think about a massive factory manufacturing plastic containers and lids. For a lid to snap on perfectly, the variation in the size of the lid and the container absolutely must match. Or imagine a supermarket manager trying to compare the checkout speeds of two different cashiers. This perfectly illustrates why comparing two variances, rather than just looking at the average speed, is so incredibly important for quality control.
Okay, before we can actually run an F-test, we have to follow the rules. Think of these as the strict entry requirements for using this test. First, the populations that our two samples come from must be normally distributed. Second, the two populations have to be completely independent of each other. You literally cannot use this test if the datasets influence one another in any way.
Wait, hold on. This is absolutely crucial. Unlike most other hypothesis tests you've probably encountered, the F-test is highly sensitive to deviations from normality. If your two distributions are not completely normal, this test can give you wildly unpredictable p-values. They might be way higher or way lower than they should be. It is a massive trap, so always check your distributions first.
All right, now that we've got the basic idea and the ground rules down, let's look at the formula. To compare two sample variances, we calculate what is called the F ratio. It's beautifully simple on the surface. You literally just take the sample variance of your first group, which we call S squared 1, and you divide it by the sample variance of your second group, S squared 2. That's it.
But right about now, you might be asking a very classic student question. Wait a second. Why do we usually put the larger sample variance on top of the fraction? It's a great question, and understanding the why here unlocks exactly how this entire test functions.
The logic here is actually pretty fascinating. If our two populations have equal variances, then our two sample variances should be really close in value, right? So dividing them gives us an F ratio close to 1. But if the variances are vastly different, we intentionally choose to put the larger sample variance on top. This forces the F ratio to be a number much greater than 1. So if F is close to 1, the variances are likely equal. If F is huge, they are definitely different.
Let's make this concrete with an example, breaking it down into 3 straightforward steps. Step 1, we set our null and alternative hypotheses. Step 2, we calculate the test statistic, that's our F ratio. And step 3, we find the p-value and draw a conclusion. We're going to solve that real-world grading mystery right now using these exact steps. Okay, let's see how this plays out with our two college math instructors. Let's say they each graded the exact same set of 30 exams. Instructor 1's grades have a variance of 52.3. Instructor 2's grades have a variance of 89.9. We're going to test the specific claim that the first instructor's variance is strictly smaller, and we'll do this at a 10% level of significance. Our null hypothesis, the variances are equal. Our alternative hypothesis, instructor 1's variance is less than instructor 2's.
Following step 2, we calculate the F statistic. Now, because we are specifically testing if instructor 1 is smaller, making this a strictly left-tailed test, we actually place instructor 1's variance on top this time. So 52.3 divided by 89.9 gives us an F ratio of 0.5818. Remember earlier when we said F is usually greater than 1? Well, that's generally for right-tailed or two-tailed tests. Because we intentionally set this up as a left-tailed test to see if group 1 was smaller, getting an F ratio less than 1 is exactly what we need to test our theory.
Next up, we determine our probability statement based on our degrees of freedom. That's 29 for both the numerator and the denominator, since both instructors graded 30 exams.
Finding the probability of getting an F ratio less than 0.5818 gives us a p-value of 0.0753. Now for the big moment, the final decision. We compare our alpha, our level of significance, which is 0.10, to our calculated p-value of 0.0753. Because 0.10 is greater than 0.0753, our rule kicks in. We have to reject the null hypothesis.
So, what's the ultimate verdict? At a 10% level of significance, the data gives us sufficient evidence to conclude that the variance in grades for the first instructor is definitively smaller. We didn't just guess by eyeballing the numbers. We proved it mathematically using the F-test. Mystery solved.
Now, if you're doing this in the real world, or let's be honest, on an exam, you're probably going to use a graphing calculator. For those of you using a standard TI 83 or 84, it's super streamlined. You just hit Stat, arrow over to Tests, and scroll down to the option labeled D, to SAMP F-test. Just choose Stats to enter your numbers directly.
But listen to me right now, because this is where so many people make a massive mistake. When you get to the inputs for x1 and x2, your calculator is asking for the standard deviation. It is not asking for the variance. Because our problem gave us the variance, you absolutely must input the square root of the variance into the calculator. For instructor 1, you have to type in the square root of 52.3. If you just type 52.3, your entire test will be completely wrong.
Let's shift gears for a second and look at a totally different scenario to test what we've learned. Imagine a sample of heights from a choir broken down into two independent groups: tenor 1 singers, who have the higher voices, and bass 2 singers, who sing the lowest notes. We've got a few of their heights listed out in inches.
Now, someone suspects that not only are bass singers generally taller, but the variance of their heights might actually be completely different as well. Think about how you'd apply the steps we just learned. Do we have solid evidence that the variance of heights in these two groups is fundamentally different? You'd set up a two-tailed hypothesis, find your sample variances, throw the larger variance on top of your F ratio, and compare your p-value. It's the exact same process.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's do a quick rapid-fire summary. We use the F ratio to scientifically compare two sample variances. Just remember the strict rules. Populations must be independent, and they absolutely must be normally distributed, because this test is super sensitive. And finally, when you're punching numbers into a calculator, always watch out for that standard deviation trap. Don't forget the square root.
You know, statistics really isn't just a bunch of formulas in a textbook. It's a powerful way to uncover hidden truths about consistency in the world around us. So I'll leave you with this. Where in your own life, your studies, or maybe your profession, could you use the F-test to prove that one process is objectively more consistent than another? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep exploring.